but it takes time to truly build the attraction, the desire, right? So I think if you don't feel that though, by the third to fifth date, depending on you got to know yourself, then you can cut it loose.
Welcome back to the Love Stories podcast. I'm your host, Charlene Byars. I am thrilled to welcome my next guest to the show today. Talia is a dating podcaster, content creator, and an entrepreneur who founded Dating Intentionally to help singles navigate dating with purpose, confidence, and ease. With over 170 Instagram followers and more than 2 million podcast downloads, Talia offers practical advice, challenges dating misconceptions, and empowers her community to build meaningful, lasting connections. I had such a powerful conversation with my guest today. I'm so excited for you to get a completely different perspective on dating and how dating should be fun. Dating is such a great opportunity to put yourself out there and meet different people and ultimately find that very special person for you. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation. And remember, stick around for the tip of the week at the end of the show. Welcome to Love Stories, a relationship podcast for successful women, where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and how great love stories are made. I'm Charlene Byars, and I'm so excited to share all the things that you can apply to create a beautiful love story of your own. Cheers to great love. Well, hello, Talia. Oh, yes, she's here. Well, I don't know what I was going to say to you. The dating queen. I am not kidding you. Oh, my goodness.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited you're here because I would truly, genuinely say, a lot of our audience are single. And they definitely, when it comes to, dating and all the things, they genuinely are like, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what to do. It is a jungle out there. And I hear this often. And I know that that's something that you really specialize in. And I know that you also, have done a lot of research. And I know that you actually have a podcast. Was it based on relationships and dating?
Yes, Dating Intentionally is my podcast, and it is fully 100% focused on dating.
Dating. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dating. Well, you know what? Let's start there. Let's go start there. What is honestly what would you say, the disconnect when it comes to dating in the modern world these days, and why people really honestly have a hard time, let's just say for an example, dating in particular, but dating apps? Because I hear both sides. You hear like, oh, I love them, but the majority of the people are like, oh no, they're terrible. Let's start there.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say I met my husband on Hinge, which is a dating app. So I am pro dating apps. That being said, they are rough. Being on them is not a fun experience. You want to get off them as soon as possible. And I think that energy of wanting to get off them as soon as possible is part of what makes dating hard. Similar, even if you're not using the apps, wanting to stop dating and find your person as soon as possible, I think is part of what makes dating not as fun. So I think that's a really big place where the disconnect is, because we can't hack or skip the part of getting to know each other. And I think a lot of us want to, thanks to our culture of instant gratification.
I think you're spot on. I think, they really don't understand the process, or actually what you said is even the enjoyment of it, and the enjoyment of getting to know different people, because it takes some time.
Yeah.
It actually takes some time. So what would you notice for the most part? So what do you hear do you help women and men, when it comes to dating? Or are you primarily dealing more with women?
So I talk to everyone, but my audience is definitely more women.
Okay, so more women. So what are the things that you are hearing when it comes to the dating apps, in particular with women?
I mean, it's funny how different the challenges are for men and women, right? But for women, I would say that a lot of men are not really using the app seriously. There is a lot of the hookup vibe and energy coming from men, and women are like, okay, I don't want to hook up. I want to. And there are women out there who absolutely do. Nothing against that. But like a lot of women I talk to, and I'm sure the listeners who are listening, it's like, you want something serious, you're ready for your person. And that can be really frustrating when a lot of the guys just don't treat it like they're taking it seriously. I think that's one thing. Two, I think of huge frustration, and this goes for men and women. It's just like, we're not taught how to present ourselves in a dating app. We're not taught how to choose the right photos and write the right things that are kind of warm and witty, but not overbearing. People use dating apps all wrong. And I think that's, again, that's just people. It's not just men and women. It's like everyone. Um, but yeah, the challenges are different. I think one of the other challenges is that there are a lot more men than women. So that,
Oh.
using, I think there's like generally over 50% more men on the apps than women. So I think for women, it can feel like there's just so many options and none of them seem that great, unfortunately, due to what I just said earlier about people not being able to write profiles very well.
Yeah. And do you find though also too, like when women are on the dating apps, and again, you guys, this conversation seriously is all about like genuinely learning that, dating is a process and we all can learn a skill that we're not maybe taught before because really no one really teaches dating overall. I know you're teaching dating. I try to teach dating,
Yeah,
but that's not like something we just learn off the shoot. Like seriously, like it's okay. So if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh no, I don't like dating apps." Stick around because this is going to be a really great conversation. Do you think also when it comes to the dating apps that the women and let's say men too, they stay on the dating app too long in the sense of when they have the connection?
do you mean like when they've already had a match or they're already seeing someone in person, like
When
dating?
they already have a match and they're
Yeah.
trying to get to
Okay.
know each
Yes.
other. Let's talk about that. And they're trying to get to
Yes.
know each other online.
Yes, you do not want to have your first date conversation via text, whether you're texting or messaging at all. The point of messaging is to see if you can vibe a little bit. I would say aim for discovering one or two things you have in common or that you want to talk about, then quickly get to a date plan. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who have absolutely no interest in ever meeting. They just want the attention and validation of messaging. So that's why it's really important to get to that planning a date conversation sooner because you end up weeding out people who are not serious because the ones who aren't serious will be like, "Oh, I'll check my schedule. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not busy." And the ones who are serious will be like, "Yeah, let's go for coffee. I'm free on Thursday."
Right. Yeah. Like I'm free on 30s. Let's meet together. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that there are a lot of people that just really try to waste somebody else's time with no intentions of actually meeting in person.
Well, I want to pause there for a second. It's not that
Okay.
they're intentionally, maliciously trying to waste your time. They're not approaching this conversation being like, "I want to waste Charlene's time."
Yeah.
No, they're going in, it's more of that their self interest are like, "I want to feel good texting with a stranger."
Mm.
Just so I don't wanna demonize people for doing this because they're not
Yes.
doing it to intentionally hurt you or screw with you. It is annoying, but it's not like they're bad. They just want validation, fine.
They just want validation. So I guess it's really up to us that to really find out who's truly genuinely wanting to move it forward or who's just wanting validation.
Yes, and don't take it personally if they're not moving it forward, if they're unresponsive, if whatever, that's their you don't have to deal with that. They're showing you that they're not ready or willing to meet you. That's a blessing because then you don't have to do the work of weeding them out. They're weeding themselves out.
Right. What do you think it comes down to? Like, the difference between then, I hear often, I don't know what you hear, people say, well, I really don't want, like I said, as we started this conversation, dating apps are a tool. It's just a tool. It's a tool. It's not the only way, but it's a good tool. What do you think it is when it comes to meeting, how we say the old fashioned way and then on the dating apps?
Sorry, what do you mean? Like, what's the
The
oh, the
difference, how
difference?
people, yeah, the difference because people will
Okay.
say, this is what I
Yes.
hear. So let me give you an example. They'll say,
Yeah.
well, I just want to meet someone in person, but that's not happening either. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay, so there are challenges with both. With
okay,
what I like about dating apps is that
okay,
okay, most people are there to like date. They're single, you know how old they are. You know a lot of information about them before you even talk to them assuming it's accurate, which I hope it is. When you're meeting someone in person, you have to figure that all out through conversation. You don't know if the cute guy at the grocery store is single, heterosexual, his age. You don't know anything about him. So it's we romanticize the in-person meet cute of locking eyes with a stranger and like you talk to each other and you flirt and it's like bantery, but in reality, you're gonna find out that oh, they're taken or oh, they're you know 15 years older than I thought or
yeah, yeah.
younger, yeah.
No, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, is it possible? Of course it's possible. But
Yeah.
when I think about that, like meeting people in person, I also feel like there has to be some type of commonality, meaning like you get to see that person more on a regular basis.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
if you're just going out, like you just said, for one time and you lock eyes with someone, okay, that's cool. But the likelihood of that person even coming up to you and even starting that conversation and that conversation leading to a date and that date leading to another, that is not as common anymore. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm really excited about this conversation about dating apps, because I really want to help people change the perspective of it doesn't have to be so negative. And I really love that you said you don't have to take it so personal.
Yeah.
That's I love that you said that.
If you're taking it personally, you're gonna hate the dating apps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you're just going to get so discouraged.
Yeah, and I also wanna say my suggestion for daters today is to do both. Like,
Okay.
don't completely write off in-person opportunities. Still go to the things you enjoy, be open to new connections. You never know if you're gonna meet someone who knows someone that, you end up on a date with, and use the apps. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I think people can be very black and white in their approach
Mhm.
to dating. It's like, no, you can do both. I met plenty of people in person. I went to the bouldering gym like 3 times a week. I met so many attractive men there. Yeah.
No, I love that. And that was one thing I was just about to say. I said, really when it comes to meeting someone in person, if you want to have also a better chance, it really comes down to also proximity, being in a place that they can see you, more often. So it's not just one time. It's like, okay, if you find something you're interested in and you go there based on, just you wanting to either have a hobby or something you're interested in, and you go there, that's kind of an opportunity. You're like, oh, well, I've seen her again. And then I've
Yeah.
seen them again and I've seen them again. And I think that's the difference. I think people forget to realize, you know what, still go do your thing. Still go, you can find clubs or things that you like. And and your intention doesn't mean just to go meet someone to hook up or be on go do that because it's something that you actually enjoy. And it's kind of awesome because then sometimes a natural connection will happen. But what
Yeah.
about, let's talk about dating apps. Do you
Yeah.
think there is a difference in the different dating apps?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Though at the end of I mean, fundamentally, no. Like,
Okay.
we're all kind of like, functionality, they're just doing the same thing. We're looking at profiles, we're saying yes or no, we're talking to people who mutually agree to talk to us. That's
Okay.
the whole thing. But, I think that dating apps have different volume of people on them, which really affects how they're used. So, like, if there are a lot of up and coming apps, but they're not gonna have a lot of people on them. So it's
Okay.
like, that's why it's hard for new apps to like break in because they don't have the volume that people will get on Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder, which are the big ones. But
Mhm.
then, of course, there's like apps for specific interests and communities, like religion, like just or geographically, or even race. It's like you have your specific. You can do that if you want, but again, You're limiting yourself to a smaller pool on those apps too. So I think there's a good strategy. My rule of thumb is to pick two.
Okay. So you said to pick two. Do you think also when you're picking a dating app and you're also considering like you're genuinely looking for your person, like someone, to have an commitment with? Let's say for the listeners, they're like, no, I'm really looking for my longtime person, my husband, my wife. Like I really am at that place in my life. Do you think there's a difference between when you're paying for the dating app or the free ones?
Yeah.
Let's talk
I
about that.
I do think there's a difference, but not necessarily if you're looking for. I don't think it matter. Like, it's not going to affect the people you're seeing as much.
Okay.
It more is about your capability on the app. Meaning, when you're paying, you have features like filtering, so you can get a little more specific with your filters. That can be helpful for you. For me, I paid for Hinge for a whole year. I loved it because I was a I was focusing on dating. I went on 64 first dates in 10 months. So, yeah, so paying for Hinge allowed me to send out unlimited likes every day, whereas the free version you get like less than 10, like 10 or less, I think. So, that's the if you're paying, don't expect necessarily to see better people, expect that you'll have more functionality.
More functionality. Okay,
Yeah.
like you said, just have
It's
a
a
wider
tool.
range.
Yeah.
It's a tool. It's a
Yep.
tool. Well, let's go back. Let's just talk about a little bit about you then. Oh, yes, I love that. So before you, let's say, started on the dating apps, what was your dating life like? And was it existing? Was it non-existing? Give me a little history.
Sure. So I was in a relationship for most of my 20s. So,
Okay.
I was with someone for 6 years, and then I broke up with him when I was 29. And that's a
29.
pretty tough age, I think, to get out of a relationship that could have led to marriage, which is something I
Okay.
wanted and now have. And so, yeah, I was jumping back into dating apps. I had used them in my early 20s. I used dating sites before apps in my early 20s. So that
Dating
was
sites. What's a dating site?
like, it's like this was pre-app. So it was like you had to
Okay.
use your computer. Like it was like a
Oh, like an
website.
act. Okay. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Tinder was like
Love it.
Grindr, I think, was the first one maybe who had an app, and then Tinder was like the first mainstream app. So yeah. But no, I got into this relationship who I met this guy on OkCupid right when their app was released. So this is like a new app, but they had a site before. So it was like whatever.
Okay. Okay.
Met him,
Okay.
6 years, we dated, broke up with him. I went back on the apps at 29 with a lot more knowledge of who I was and what I wanted. So I was equipped with that, and that made the experience so much better for me. And one of the first things I realized, which is why I started my podcast and Instagram, is that I was having so much fun and everyone else was miserable. And I'm like, what am I doing? Can I bottle this up and can I give it to other people so they enjoy the process more? Because dating is so fun.
Yes. Okay. So let's talk about that. What did
Yeah.
you learn about the dating apps? What did you learn about dating, and how did you make it fun?
So, I mean, I know you've had guests come on and talk about this before, but it truly is about lowering the stakes and losing your expectations.
I love that.
Like, I went into dates being like, I'm just going to go out. I'm going to get dressed up. I'm going to feel good about myself. I'm going to go to this new bar restaurant I never tried before, talk to a stranger, and see what happens. It wasn't, oh my God, this might be my last first date, or oh my God, this guy might be the one. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let's just see where this conversation goes. And I had some pretty boring dates. I had some not great conversationalists. I didn't have any horrible dates, and I'm very
Okay.
lucky. I
Mhm.
wasn't, I'll also practice very safe dating, right? I was
Mhm.
always in public places. I didn't ever feel in danger, which is very lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just went in with that mindset. And I will say in the beginning, I wasn't looking for a relationship because I just gotten out of one. And I know that's not really the same as a lot of people dating who've been out there for a while really
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah. No, so what I'm hearing you say is you truly genuinely were in a space in your life that you wanted to try the dating, but you also just wanted to get to know people with no expectations and just
Yeah.
have fun. And
Yeah.
I wonder, you honestly going in that way is why you were able to have, a different experience.
Yeah.
So when you were so let's talk about this. So when you started the dating app after you were, with the relationship for 6 months, and you
6
started
years.
going on, or 6 years, not
Yeah.
6,
Yeah.
6 years. Yeah, 6 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time relationship. So
Yeah.
you're with this person for 6 years, and now you said you're 29 years old and you're starting these dating apps. What was it like when it came to dating? So you get on these dating apps, and when you would, let's say, connect, which one, you said you were on Hinge for about a year,
Yeah.
paid for Hinge.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're on Hinge and you would connect with someone. Would you say that you were the one most likely progressing to meet in person, or usually the guy, or with a little bit of both? Like what was that like?
More me.
More
Yeah.
you.
And I actually think more women need to do that. I think, again, this is my strategy, and
Yeah, let's hear
please
your
steal this.
strategy. Yes.
So when you're talking to someone on the apps and you're like, cool, he's not rude. He can treat me with respect. He asks questions. He's normal. Like that's where the bar is. Okay. That
Okay.
they're
Okay.
normal and they're not disrespectful or rude or weird or sexual.
Okay.
Okay. So once I've passed that test, you can be like, I want to meet, or I'd like to meet, or I think we should take this conversation to in person, like that kind of phrasing. And then you step back. So this
Okay.
isn't about you planning the whole date and picking the time and the place no, you're just telling them what you want, and they can pick up the ball and be like, cool, I want to meet too. What are you free Friday? Like then they'll take the ball from there.
Okay. So I've said this before. So it was kind of like, then what it sounds like to me, which I love this, It sounds like to me it's the modern way of on the dating app dropping the
Yes.
handkerchief, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just so you can say, hey, I'm not going to pursue you necessarily, but I just want to let you know because obviously we're not in person, so you can't see my body language in the sense. And I just want to let you know that I'm open and I'm interested.
Yep.
So let's see what's going to go from there. Okay, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and
Yes.
most guys got that. It wasn't even a hint. They just
Okay.
agreed, and they're like, "Cool, she wants me to plan a date." It was just very clear at that point. Some people, were new to town, so I was definitely the one planning those dates. If they're like brand new, and I'm like, "Okay, I just don't care. I didn't care about going 50-50 on first dates. I didn't care about it. I'm happy to do that. I don't care." Some people do. I was willing to give people a lot of grace with this because I think that dating is collaborative. I don't think
Mhm.
it's not a transaction. So I wasn't testing people, be like, they have to plan everything and pay for everything and text me after. No, I also realized I have a responsibility to show up here too. So I'm gonna text first sometimes. I'm gonna take you up if you want to split the bill. That's fine. Like, you gotta be a team player.
Mhm. You have to be a team player. Do you think then when you were in this process, did you have like a rule in the sense of I'm going to like just make sure I meet up with the person first? I always say make sure they have teeth and
Yes.
make sure okay, they are not catfishing me, they are who they are. Or did you allow yourself to like go on first dates that were long dates? I mean, what was that like for you?
I'm a
Were you
short
doing
date
a couple
girl.
dates? Yeah.
I'm like a let's get one drink, see what happens. Obviously,
Love it.
it's easier to extend a drink than it is to shorten a dinner. So it's like I definitely made the mistake of agreeing to long dinner dates a couple times and I always regretted it.
What
Always.
did you know? Give us the story, girlfriend. Give us the
So,
story.
okay,
Seriously.
so there's 2, I'll tell this one's a little more mild, but this guy very generously took me to
Okay.
a beautiful omakase for our first date, which is one of those Japanese restaurants where you sit at the counter and they give you one piece of sushi at a time, and it's, like, very expensive.
Okay.
And I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." He was like, "I just got a bonus, like, I wanna do this." I'm like, "Cool, fine."
Okay.
But this is a horrible first date because it is like a 2-hour-long experience, and
No.
they are interrupting you every 5 minutes with a new piece of sushi. So we couldn't really have a conversation because we were just every time it's like the chef is handing you food every, like, couple minutes. So that was really annoying, and that's like, man, we coulda just done a drink, like, we didn't need to you didn't need to spend $500 on
Oh
this.
my goodness.
Yeah.
I
We barely
forgot.
talked about anything, like, yeah.
Every time you're fine, like, oh, gotta eat again. Hold
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. You can't, like, it's rude to ignore you feel rude ignoring the chef, it's like and you're paying for that experience, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ugh.
You're just like, no. You're like,
Never
no.
again.
I agree with you too. I really love the idea of, just meeting up in person with someone, but definitely making it a shorter time, meaning like if you're having great conversation, if things I personally truly genuinely love coffee dates.
Yeah.
I think
Love.
I love them because you have this opportunity to meet the person, and see if you have a little banter with one another and kind of really see how the guy is. Let's see if he's like I said, he is who he is and see if something's there. And if the conversation's going great, you can take longer. You can, you take all the time you want. But if it's not and you're like, oh Lordy, I gotta go.
Chug that coffee, be like, "Oh, you know what? I have to go feed my dog."
Yeah, because yeah, exactly. I gotta go feed my dog. No, because that's what it is. To me, dating is all about, and I want to know your theory, but for me, I think dating is all about getting to know different people.
Yeah.
Getting to know different people at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I agree. I mean, I multi-dated. That was the only way I could do what I did. I would line up many dates in a week,
Yes.
and get to know people. Again, the short dates also made that easier. I know there's a lot of people who are maybe have kids, you have a lot of things going on, to make it hard to do that. But yeah, you can absolutely get to know a few people in terms of like the first few dates. I'm not saying
Mhm.
get to know people deeply. It's hard to do
No.
that. You're not saying dating for months, multiple
Right.
people, just like
And we're
1 or
dating.
2
We're
dates.
getting to
Yeah.
know people. And it's
Yeah.
not like you're in a committed relationship. You don't have to
No.
sleep with the person.
No,
You
no, no.
literally get to, no, you get to actually see. And I think it's really awesome because if you're, again, let's just speak to the ladies right now. And of course, men too. But if you're a single lady, that is the best part. And really genuinely, it's interesting. men are ready. It's like they can smell the competition. They can smell, you know what I mean? That you have it seriously, that you have this different
Maybe,
energy
yeah.
that you're not as needy
Yeah.
and you are taking your time and you are just allowing it to flow. And really, truly, you are absolutely in control. You get to decide. You get to
Yep.
decide, "Psh, I'm going to end this date pretty quickly because this guy's very rude. Or, you know what? Oh my goodness, he's so yummy. I'm going to sit
Mhm.
here and talk to him, longer."
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. So, take me back before that guy that you were with for 6 years.
Okay.
When you grew up, and you were starting to really fancy the boys, and think about that.
You mean like in kindergarten?
Like, oh, that
I
was
was
the question I was
always
going to
boy
ask you.
crazy.
Okay, were you that's a great question. That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to say, would you say that you were, as a young girl, pretty boy crazy early on, or not so much? And it
Yeah, I
sounds
was.
like so. Take me back. Take
Yeah,
me back.
so, I mean, I'm bisexual,
Okay.
but I have always been really fascinated with love, romance from a very young age. I blame Disney, honestly, like Disney movies.
Totally.
But I really loved it. Always loved a love story. And yeah, I remember having crushes and boys in my life, like in that terms of like the childhood crush kind of thing from really early on, always. Yeah, and I
Okay.
love flirting. I was a huge flirt, still am. You know, and yeah, I think I did welcome that energy. And of course, like when you do start your dating life younger, like I had my first long-term boyfriend when I was 15. We dated for
Yeah.
like all of high school.
All of high school.
Yeah, so you will get yeah, I was very messy earlier on, but I actually think that was good. Like in college, I was definitely messier. I had situationships, you have
Yeah.
those like ambiguous. I think that was all really good. I'm glad I had those experiences growing up because it taught me so much more about what I should not tolerate from
Yes.
men, and
Yes.
also what I'm bringing to the table too in terms of my energy and effort as a partner. I'm glad I did start pretty young.
You start pretty young. So
Yeah.
you would say that back then. Did you really fantasize about getting married? Were you more like, I wanted to get married one day, or not so much, or just more like, I just want to meet different people,
No,
date, have fun?
I mean, I definitely was marriage oriented, but I think
Okay.
there was a part of me that always feared marriage because my parents are divorced.
Okay.
So I think that getting married in the last year, I did really have to get over that. And it was a
Mhm.
lot of inner work and therapy and like, work with my husband on that. But I did, yeah, I was always pretty like, I knew marriage was in my future. Yeah.
You knew marriage was my favorite. Where did you grow up, hon? Did you grow up with your mom and your dad? Did you have any brothers, sisters?
Yeah, I have a younger brother who's
Okay.
also I think very similar to me in this regard. And yeah, I grew up on the East Coast, New York.
Okay. And how old were you when your parents got a divorce?
16
You're
when they separated, 19 when they officially divorced. Yeah.
When they officially said, well,
Yeah. So
and
I
when that
wasn't yeah,
you
go ahead.
weren't, yeah, but still that obviously plays an effect with all of
Yeah,
us, right?
for sure.
And when that happened, did you primarily get to stay with mom, dad? Did you have both? What was the relationship like?
I don't know what you're gonna think about this, but
Okay.
I was a junior or senior in high school and I pretty much said I'm not going back and forth. You're gonna stay in the house until I go to college. So I didn't have to do that.
Okay.
I
So they
basically was like, "I'm not doing that because I'm about to leave," and they tried to bribe me, but I definitely was smart enough to be like, "Okay, college is expensive. I don't
Yep,
think buying me double of everything makes sense right now." And they were like, "She's right."
she's right. So they totally agreed to that.
Yeah. So they switched
Wow.
actually. So they actually did I don't know if this is like a thing with divorced couples, but, they would take turns leaving and going somewhere else.
So you're talking to someone that actually did that.
Oh, really? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
was married to my ex-husband for 23 years.
Oh, wow.
And when we just I'm remarried now, but when I was
Yeah.
married to him for 23 years, I have 4 children. And when we decided to not we, I decided we were gonna get a divorce. And it was so disruptive. The kids were like, what's gonna happen? And we didn't want
It's rough.
to, yeah, it was rough. And we didn't, yeah, divorce is really rough. And we didn't want to keep upsetting the apple cart with them. So we decided, I forgot what it was called actually. I think
There
we
is a
found
name for it. There is a
there's
name for
a
this,
name,
and
girlfriend. There's
I
a
don't
name.
know
I
either.
think it was there's an actual name. I can't remember the name, but I'm the one that I kind of found it. And then I said, okay, so how about the kids don't have to leave and we keep the home. And then when I have the kids, obviously I'm in the home and then he would go somewhere else and vice versa. So we did that for a while until we couldn't do it anymore, pretty
Yeah.
much. Then things got kind of,
Yeah, it's tough.
ugly.
Yeah, and my parents did eventually, like my brother did the switching because he was a little bit more diplomatic.
Okay.
I was more like, I'm not doing this.
Okay.
I think I was just old enough to kind of have that say. If I was younger, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have anything. So I think for the transition, I definitely think that was a good transition for our children.
Yeah.
I mean, it really it's not for everyone. It's
No.
really not for everyone. But we both truly, genuinely, try to have the best interest of our children. And that was just something that worked for a while. Like I said, until it didn't work anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
Until it didn't work anymore. Okay. So then you just said, okay, you are on the dating apps. You were on the dating apps for, almost a year and you're having the time of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I'm open to marriage, but that wasn't truly my intention. When you were in that relationship with the guy for 6 years, what was that like for you? Were you wanting to marry him or were you also, okay.
Yeah. So we were, we met when I was 23. So I wasn't ready to get that. Like marriage, I knew wasn't going to be happening anytime soon. But then at 29, it's like, okay, we've been together for 6 years. We've lived together for 3 years. What's happening? And it just ultimately came down to we were the wrong match. He really, I don't know why he didn't really like communicate this to me, but I don't think he actually wanted to get married ever. I think he was just probably scared of hurting my feelings or just hurting me in general, which a lot of men are. And I understand that. But we just, I realized that he was the only thing in my life causing me stress and everything else in my life was fantastic. And I was like, you know what, this isn't right. So I left. And then, so I during my dating journey, I would say the first half, I was not oriented around finding a partner. I was oriented around healing myself, right?
Yeah.
Healing from the breakup.
Yep.
And with the guys I met, I would say, I'm not looking for a relationship. I was upfront about this. I wasn't leading anyone on. They knew that by going on a date with me that it was not going to turn into a relationship. And I definitely passed over some really great guys, by the way. Like I definitely passed over guys I could have ended up with 100%, but I wasn't ready. Then I eventually was. And that's like when I met my husband.
How important you think that is, especially after we go through such a long relationship and a breakup, to genuinely take that time?
I think it's so important because of who you are going into a relationship and coming out of it. As you know, you're a different person on the other side. And I think it's important to take some time to get to know that person without someone else to deal with. Deal with your own stuff before you start introducing someone else's stuff into the mix,
What did you learn? I mean, looking back now during that process, because I really want women to hear this, because I think that is such an important space for us, especially like I said, if we've been single for a while or we were in those long-term relationships. What did you learn about yourself that you didn't know before when it came into about relationships and yourself?
Well, I really had to face this potential future that I had not been paying attention to where maybe I wouldn't end up with someone. And I was like, wow, I've been living my life planning ahead with someone else involved, right? Their finances, their desires. I'm on my own now. What do I want? What does my best life look like? And that, honestly, that just thinking about that was so scary at first and kind of hard because it could be anything. Like I could do anything. I'm 29. Like I could do whatever. But nailing that down of like, okay, here's my 10 years, the next 10 years by myself made dating so much easier because even now with my marriage, if we ever split up, I know I'd be okay. I have this more security in myself. And I did that not through dating, but through sitting with myself and being like, what do I want? No one else is involved. What do I want? And I think having that moment is a gift. So I did learn what I wanted. And I also learned what I had to heal, right? My avoidant attachment, and so many other things related to that.
And I think, man, I honestly, I wish people really understood how powerful that is. Yeah. How powerful that is to give yourself that grace, to give yourself that space. And what I like is, like you said, you can still go out there, ladies, and you can still go have fun and get to know different people. But if you have that type of mindset, like, okay, I don't have to just jump into another relationship. Nothing's wrong with me. I'm not broken. I just need some time. I just need some space. And I think that can help so much, because if you are in a space and you're feeling like, wow, I've been, single for a long time, something's wrong with me. I don't think there's, really good men out there. But let me just say this right now. I say this all the time. The majority of the men out there are actually great.
I agree. I
Right there, the
fully
majority are
agree.
great, right?
Yeah.
There are. And I think it really does come down to, how we're looking at it and where we're at in our healing journey.
Yeah.
And when you take the time to have a little fun with that and not, and not poo-poo on yourself so much. Not right. Like I've always tell people, I said, listen, there's no rush.
Yeah.
It's okay. Right? You don't have, because when all the things come together, things will just happen. Like things will happen at the right timing. Believe it this or not, I believe this with all my heart. The right timing,
Yeah.
the right place, it will just come together. So Missy, you are dating, you're having the time of your life, and then explain to me how you met your husband.
Yeah. So funny story.
Okay.
I met Johnny, my husband,
Johnny.
after I dated someone for like a month-ish, maybe a little more, that I really
Okay.
liked. Like I
Okay.
met him on Hinge, or no, I met him
Okay.
on Bumble. Super nice guy with a deaf dog, like so sweet. But he actually ended it with me
Okay.
because of my dating podcast and well, I didn't have a podcast, but my dating Instagram. He was like, I don't want to be part of this.
What
And
did
he
you
ended
have? Tell us what you had back then. You had a
It was just the Instagram, and I was talking about my dates, and I think
Okay.
he just was like, "This just isn't for me." Totally fair, but I was pretty bummed because I really liked him,
You
and
did.
he
Okay.
was amazing in bed. I'll just say that right now. Like I was like, "Damn."
You're
So
like,
then
man.
that ended, and then I was like, "Okay, back to the apps," and I lined up 7 first dates in like a week, which I do not recommend people do. Don't
Okay.
do that. But I
Don't do
did
that.
that, and my husband was one of them. So
No.
yes. So what happened was we met on Hinge. We
Okay.
had our first date virtually because he wasn't in where I was living at. I was in Seattle at the time. He
Okay.
wasn't there yet. He was like moving there. And I was like,
Mhm.
ugh. I never being like, are we going to meet for coffee or what? And he was like, well, I can't meet you for coffee, but I can do a Zoom date with you. Like,
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
So basically, since he wasn't moving for another month, I continued to date other people, right?
Okay.
So we were talking, we were still doing Zoom dates,
Okay.
but I was also seeing other people. And then by the time he showed up, it was like pretty clear that I really liked him. And I stopped seeing other people, and now we're married. Like, yeah.
No, so did you because you just said that you dated a lot of guys.
Yeah.
You got to know a lot of different people. And when you met your husband, and I know, and even though, you met him on the Zoom, you're still there. We're just
Yeah.
like you and I are. You're really getting to see that person, talk to the person. It's not talking on the phone. You actually get to have this type of interaction. Of course, there's nothing better than the energy in person, but this is really good too. It's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
What was the difference between your husband and all these other people that you were getting to know? What, was it instant, or it was a feeling? Because I always tell people, something's gonna change, something's gonna happen, and I want to hear your experience.
You know what? It was not instant.
It
And
wasn't
after
instant.
our first video call date, I hung up and thought, I'm never going to hear from this guy again. Not that I wasn't like I really want to or anything, by the way,
Okay.
but it was more like I just felt this vibe of like, I feel like he's lining up a bunch of video dates with people. And like, I don't know. It just kind of was like, I don't really know why I'm going to hear from him again. And it was fine. It was very
Okay.
mediocre. But what made him stand out is that he
Yes.
was very quietly persistent. That is
Okay.
his vibe. He was quiet confidence, which is so hot, right? A
So
guy who
hot.
isn't in your face about the confidence, but he's like just kind of like he knew I was gonna come around. Like that's how he operated. He just kind of like knew. He just kind of sat back and knew I would be super into him. It was really
Okay.
weird. But yeah, I think that's just that quiet, confident persistence of giving me my space and letting me just kind of like he didn't care if I didn't respond to him right away on
Ooh.
texting because I
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily the most responsive texter. Where some guys would be like very insecure
Offended.
about that. He
Yeah.
didn't have any insecurity. He's a very secure person. So I think that is what made him stand out, and I really picked up on that.
So you really enjoyed his confidence because, like you say, it
Yes.
wasn't that cocky confidence. He was like
Yeah.
that sexy confidence.
Yeah,
Like,
he
okay,
can be
thank
a
you.
little cocky too, but honestly,
Yeah.
I like that. I like a person who can brag about themselves a little bit. Like, that
I
does appeal to me because
have a little
think it's
spice.
great. Yeah, why not? You're accomplished. Yes, talk about it. Like,
So then you're getting to know this guy. How often do you recommend though, seriously, the Zoom type of meetups? Do you
so
recommend
yeah.
that from the
Okay,
beginning? 'Cause that's a good tool too.
there's a really great tool if you're someone who's really busy and if you have kids
Okay.
and you can't get the sitter, you can't get you can't line it up. I think video calls are awesome. FaceTime
Okay.
it doesn't have to be like sitting on your computer. You could do FaceTime. You could also do like walking dates where you're just walking, you're both walking and you're on the phone. Like, why not? Um, or if you're someone who's concerned about being catfished, another great opportunity to do a FaceTime if you're worried about safety. Or yeah, if you're like traveling, this happens a lot. It's like you meet
Okay.
someone, you hit it off on the apps, and like they're gone for 2 weeks and you're gone for 2 weeks. You don't have to wait 4 weeks to have a date. Get on a Zoom call.
That's actually really good. If you would have to say, I mean, I know you have, a knowledge of tips and information and all that. But for, the ladies who are listening right now, like, okay, ladies, I'm hearing you. You guys are really talking about this dating app and talking about, obviously she met her man on the dating app, her husband, and now she's married. What would you say are your top, genuinely, four things to go by when you're considering going on a dating app and how to really navigate these dating apps?
Yes. Number one would be that your profile is not a boyfriend or partner application.
Give me an example. What do you
It's
mean by
not
that?
like you're not like saying, I don't want this, I don't want that, you have to be this, you have to be that. No, no, no. Your profile is a conversation starter. You need to give people a
Mm,
reason to talk to you. It's like you're if you the pro they're designed to do this so people don't use them this way, but they're like
okay.
giving you prompts to like share your hobbies, interests, your hot takes, your polarizing opinions that will draw people in to talk to you. That is the whole point of dating apps. It's not to
Okay.
find love, it is to literally start a conversation.
Ooh, I
So
love that.
that's the number one thing. Make sure that you're filling out your profile with that in mind of like, what do I want to talk about? For me, it's like my favorite TV shows. I would talk about that for hours. Like I
Okay.
could talk about White Lotus for hours, you
Yes,
know?
you would actually recommend then, like, for an example, on when you're filling out your dating app, okay, listen to this. This is really good. Um, Put more of your interests or say things that you are genuinely really interested in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
So,
that
like, if
will then people will either they'll come to being like, I love this thing too, or they'll be like, I want to learn more about it, or I never heard of that, or whatever it is. Like you saying, I don't want a
a
someone
smoker,
who,
I
yeah,
don't want
smoker,
this. I don't, yeah.
whatever, is not going to make someone want to talk to you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. So,
And if he's a
um,
smoker, you're going to find out pretty quick
yeah,
anyway.
also,
So, yeah.
I mean, smoker's a bad example because they have those filters, like you just check a box, but like, you know what I mean? And just
Yeah.
whatever, don't say it's like you have to be fit. Instead of being like you have to be fit, talk about how you are fit, what activities you like to do.
Oh,
And
I
you're going
love that.
to draw people in who also do those activities. So that's one. The other one is swipe more generously. I think people are too picky when they're swiping, and I get it. Like I teach classes about online dating. So when I'm teaching a class, I will go on the apps to start looking. Obviously, I'm not dating, but I'm going to look at even I feel myself being judgmental. And I think
Okay.
you have to kind of snap yourself out of that and not judge the profile too hard because the men rarely get swiped right on. The stats are so sad.
Really? Okay.
Part of it is because they don't again, the profile thing we were talking about earlier, just the skill gap.
The skills,
Yeah.
sometimes there's such good guys, they're not good at the dating
Exactly.
app.
So that's what I'm saying. When you swipe more generously, like you have to I always say a swipe right isn't a marriage proposal.
Okay.
So swipe a little more generously, see if they even match back and see if they'll even talk to you. Like you're not even gonna get to talk to them if you don't swipe right on them. So I think just swiping right more often is gonna help you a lot.
I love that you're saying that. I'm going to get the other two things that
Yeah.
you're talking about. I just want to tell you this. I just had this week's guest. It was a couple, and she
Oh yeah,
was
listen to this one.
explaining.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was explaining how when she this is so funny when she met him on the dating app. She said, "I don't know what it was. I mean, there were some things that he liked about him, but also I was like, your dating app is just jerky, or I don't
Yeah.
know what word she
It's like
used,
rude or something.
but
Yeah.
like just like what is up with your dating app?" And he changed it. He didn't take it personal, he actually cleaned it up a little bit. And she's like, oh, okay, this is
All
good.
right.
I agree with that. Sometimes, the first impression, especially on a dating app, first impression, even this is what I also believe. Men and women, we both can be nervous. We all have, sometimes we say, oh, we're going to show up our best selves. Yeah, we hope to show up our best selves. But sometimes we can have a little bit of an off day. Or especially like when it comes to, men, if men are genuinely really attracted to a woman, sometimes he turns into like a little blubber. Like
Yeah,
all of a
yeah,
sudden you're
sure.
like, he doesn't know how to like act. He's like, I've never felt this. Like, what is going on? To me, it's intriguing. But sometimes it does take maybe 1 or 2 dates, but unless it was so obvious, you're like,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. But if there was something there, be a little more open. So what you're saying and what I'm hearing is the same goes to dating apps.
Yeah.
Same goes to
Especially
dating apps.
with a profile, it's like, again, you can't get someone's whole personality based on 6 photos and 3 prompts. So I think, again, but on the other side of that, we still
Okay.
want to be discerning. So my third tip is like just swipe left on anyone who doesn't have their profile filled out, or anyone who just is, you can clearly see they're not taking it seriously. Like some people are like flipping the bird in a photo, or they're like their tongue is out in a
Yeah.
picture. Like they've got their party vibes, and it's just like, okay, you don't have to be that generous, you know?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like still
Okay.
be discerning. So that's my third tip. And my last was, again, we kind of mentioned earlier, of just like getting to that date faster and not taking it personally when people aren't responsive, because it's not you. You're not
Okay.
doing anything wrong. People are just lazy, busy, on vacation, stressed out at work. The list is endless. It has nothing to do with you. And yeah, focus on the ones who are responsive. That's all.
And how do you talk to women when it comes to the sense of, this is what I hear often. They're like, well, I'm so scared. I don't want to go out on a date with a serial killer.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have to date safely. So that's where, if you're really worried, you definitely want to do the Zoom calls or a phone
Okay.
call before. You always want to meet somewhere in public. You can
Love that.
always share a location with a friend or a family member if you want, so they know where you are. You can tell them, I'm going on a date at this place. Again, meeting in public. I'm going to text you after at 11 o'clock, whatever it is. Like, you can have these safety measures. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
And,
true.
and
And like
don't let
you
them
said,
pick you up at your house. I mean, yeah,
yes,
don't give
yes.
them your address.
Don't do
Yeah.
that.
Just meet
Don't
them,
do that, ladies.
get
Yeah.
yourself there and back. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're not quite sure, we already said earlier, keep it simple, keep a coffee date. You get to decide that. That's
Yeah.
okay. If that's something that you're like, hey, I'm not sure here, I'm a little nervous. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
If a
You
guy is
know,
inviting you to his place on the first date, he is out of touch. He is out of touch. Like,
what about
no,
he's like, girl, I have a jacuzzi and I'm gonna
that's
make you nice
great.
dinner.
Yeah. Prove to me you're not a weirdo first by meeting me for coffee.
No, seriously, the guys are like, I'm gonna cook your dinner. I'm like, no, that's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
Are you
No.
serious? Like, no,
Save it for
no.
the third date.
Yes. Yeah. Save it for when you're getting to know this guy. Okay. So now you meet your man, and then you obviously, Missy's dating other people, and then you're, doing your thing with him. I love that you guys actually got to connect online like this.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. But then what happened? What was it like when you finally saw him in person?
Yeah. So our first date, kind of what we were saying earlier about
Yeah.
being able to extend it, because we had already had context. This wasn't a
Okay.
real first date
Yeah.
when we met in person. So we got a beer at like 3 o'clock. I'm a lightweight. I'm like, I can't have another beer. Let's walk around. So we walked around, and then we got like boba after, like a little bit
Boba.
later. So
Yeah.
we were able to extend the date, and I was actually having a great time. And I'm glad he didn't kiss me on the first date, because I'm glad he didn't, because I was still kind of feeling him out. But he kissed me on the second date at the end.
He
So
did.
that, yes. And then I still wasn't sure though at the end of the second date. I was like, I don't know. He's funny, but I don't really know much about him, because his humor is like blocking me from getting to know him, which is a lot of people have that. So by the third date, I was like, okay, this is the make or break date. I need to learn these key things about him by the end of tonight. And I did. So
Mhm.
that was very lucky. And I would say the third date is when I felt that spark,
Okay.
that moment of like, oh, I'm actually attracted to this guy. It took 6 weeks from matching to that third date for me to feel attracted to him genuinely.
See, that to me is really, really good,
Yeah.
because I really believe this. I believe that if you So chemistry doesn't really necessarily mean compatibility. Chemistry,
Yeah.
and a lot of times it can mess with us. So if you go on a date with a guy, and I think this is what happens. A lot of people think you're supposed to have this great spark all of a sudden, like, fireworks.
No.
No, what happens is sometimes when you are meeting someone in person and you're getting all those butterflies, a lot of times those butterflies are actually a sign there that
It's
something's
anxiety, it's
not right.
tension, it's you're
Something's off.
uncertain. Yeah, there's something
Yep,
off.
something's off. So it's not necessarily these, butterflies like in the good way. No, butterflies to me is your body saying, girlfriend, something's off here. So when you're able to have that comfort, like have a little more comfortableness, and it's like that slow
Yeah,
burn.
I talk about the slow burn a lot. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that. You talk about that with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. So the slow burn's tough because it's a little ambiguous. You're like, you don't
Hmm.
really know it until you feel it. And sometimes it's like, it's too slow. Am I doing it right? But
Hmm.
it's basically what you said. It's allowing the chemistry to build a little bit. And look, if you don't feel there's a difference between attraction and knowing someone is attractive. Like I
Okay,
could think Brad Pitt is attractive, but I am not attracted to him. Like I don't
got it.
as a person, I'm like, no. But okay, is he a good looking guy? Sure.
Sure.
So that was like with my husband. I'm like, okay, this is a good looking person,
Yep.
attractive person, but it takes time to truly build the attraction, the desire. Right. So I think if you
Yes.
don't feel that though, by the third to fifth date, depending on you got to know yourself
You gotta know
and you can
yourself.
cut it loose, right? If I didn't
Okay.
feel by like the fourth date, if I wasn't feeling it at all, I would have cut him loose.
So there was still with him, even though it took you a moment, like you said, it
Yeah.
took that all that time, but there was still progression, right? You said
Yeah.
there was still okay.
Okay, the thread that kept me going was I liked hanging out with him. I
You
liked
did.
talking to him. The
Okay.
compatibility was absolutely there. Like we had a good fun time together. So if you're having fun, like you're enjoying that time spent with that person, keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what you should be looking for. Not like, oh, do I want to rip his clothes off or oh, like, do I want to just like make out with him or something? It's like, no, no, no. Do you enjoy talking with them?
Oh, I love that
That's
you're
it.
saying
Yeah.
that. Yes, I love that you're saying that. Do you
Yeah.
genuinely enjoy your time with him?
That was true for my husband. Like he was funny, engaging. We didn't run out of things to talk about. He asked me questions, I asked him questions. It was fun to get to know him. And it's still fun, by the way. We're still getting to each other. Like it doesn't end. So, there was one other thing I wanted to say on that. Um, yeah, if it's not fun, then you don't need to see them again.
I love that. I love that. You have to actually enjoy your time. Enjoy your time. And that's really, a lot of times the greatest love, ladies, listen to this, not even kidding you. The greatest love starts out as a friendship.
Yeah.
It does. It really genuinely is. And because if you're going, and especially if you're going to be marrying someone, you got to be friends. You
Yeah.
got to have compatibility in the sense that you actually enjoy each other. And I remember I had another guest too, and he was talking about, when he met his wife now, he said, I am not even kidding you. We were so opposite. I remember him telling me this. We were so opposite, but we enjoyed
Yeah.
each other. We
Yeah.
just wanted to get to know each other. And we had so much fun. We had laughter. We had this. And then little by little, it got spicy,
Yeah.
as they allowed the process to happen. So we're going to go back to what we just said. So if you're single out there and you are listening to this and you're like, okay, I'm gonna look at dating apps a little differently. And I'm just gonna tell you this right now. Get into her world because she's the master. She's the master. Like you just listen to her content and she's just giving us
Thank
nuggets
you.
today. No,
Thank you so
seriously,
much.
get into your world. But we're just having, I know our conversation is some nuggets today, but I know there's a lot more layers here. I get
Yeah.
that. And I know you have a podcast and just, can you I'm going to ask you another question, but real
Yeah.
quick, can you tell everyone the name of your podcast and how they can get into your world?
Yes. So my podcast is Dating Intentionally. It's on every platform, Apple, Spotify, all of them. And you can find me on Instagram at dating.intentionally.
Yeah. So no, you guys, seriously, she's the real deal here. But what I love though is not only that you allow that process with your man, and as time was going by, you started realizing, okay, this is not just a friendship. I'm liking this
Yeah.
man. I'm liking this man.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And so how long did you guys date until you got engaged?
18 months.
18
Yeah.
months.
We
18
moved in
months.
together after a year together, which again, it was kind of like something happened with his work that like kind of spurred that, but we also discussed marriage at that point too.
You did.
I wasn't going to move without the discussion around marriage. And I basically said to him like, "Look, I wanted to have a ring before moving in together, but I get it. Like wanted the opposite." And I was like, "You have a year." Like if we're not engaged at the end of the first of the year our lease is up,
Yeah.
I'm out.
I'm not doing another 6 years too. Like, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
exactly. I learned
Yeah.
my lesson. So that wasn't an ultimatum. It was more just like,
Of
we are going
course.
to decide this together.
Yep.
And we have a year to decide this together, because if after 2 years together you don't know and you're in your 30s, I just think it's a no.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think 2 years is such a great place to be because I've said that is you get to really experience people in different seasons, 2
Yep.
seasons, 2 birthdays, 2 holidays, all the things, all the things. A lot come out. If you honestly genuinely don't know if you wanna marry that person in 2 years, yeah. No,
Yeah.
something's up. Something's off.
Hold on
Something's
one
off.
second. Sorry. I need to just
Oh, you're fine, hon.
sorry. My dog is like, it's time to eat. So she's just
Oh, look at
she's
the
gonna sit
dog.
here.
Introduce us to who we got on the show today.
This is Coconut.
Coconut. Hi, Coconut. Coconut's mommy, you're talking too long. We got to eat.
Yeah, exactly. No, I wanted to say that, oh, yeah, we got engaged 18 months in, so 6 months into living together, and we got married in September, so that was like 2 years and change of
That was
knowing
like
each
2 years
other.
and
Yeah,
change. And
yeah,
do you think, like now looking back, and I'm sure you guys had these conversations when he was out there, how long was your man? Was he ever married before, in a relationship before?
no.
Was he looking for long term, or was he more like okay? He was more
Yes. So he's 2 years older than me, so when we
okay.
met, I was 30, he was 32,
Okay,
and, he had just finished his PhD right at the start of COVID, so I think he was, like, ready to settle down and find someone after that, but then COVID kind of got in the way.
yeah,
So he did, and he had several long, like, 1 to 3 year long relationships, through college and grad school.
okay,
So, yeah.
okay. But he definitely was a
But he
man
was
that was
yes, very relationship oriented, like, he just was a relationship guy, and I think, when he came to Seattle where I was living, we met, and I'm like I asked him on our 4th date. So
okay.
after the moment of chemistry, I was like, "Don't you wanna, like, explore Seattle and, like, sample Seattle?" Like,
Yeah,
"That's what
yeah,
I
yeah,
would do.
yeah.
That's what I would do." And he was like, "No," like, he's like, "No, I want you to be my girlfriend." Like, we met, and he's like, "I'm good. Like, I don't need to subject myself to the apps anymore. I found a good one." And that's another tip I have for you. It's like, when you found something good, you've gotta know when to stop looking.
I love that.
I also had to realize that, like, I found someone awesome, and I was dating like crazy. I was on a whole
Yeah.
spree. I had to
She was
choose
in a
to
spree. She
stop
was like
looking. I was like, "Okay, I actually found someone who has no red flags and meets all my needs, and I love hanging out with him. I'm gonna stop looking," and that was scary for me.
that was.
Yeah.
But that actually is important because if you actually didn't do that, you would have probably missed a chance with
Oh,
being him.
100%.
Because he
And
wasn't I mean, I think you like you said, he was cool in the beginning, he understood where you were at, but once you guys started progressing and he was like, "I'm into you."
yeah.
He needed to know, ladies, seriously, it does go both ways because the man he can pursue you, he can definitely let you know, but it comes down to that you are going to have to also decide, yes, I'm
Yeah.
into you too. They need to know that too. That's really important.
Oh, yeah. My saying is, like, if you're interested, show interest. So even when I'm a question mark on someone, I'm still gonna show interest, because not knowing isn't a no yet, right? It's like, okay, I still wanna get to know you, so I'm gonna show interest. I'm gonna text you back. I'm gonna be responsive and interested in getting to know you, even if I don't know you're my person yet. And I think we miss the mark on that sometimes.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. And look that you were able to like, get off of those dating apps and get
Yes.
yourself married. How is life with him now?
Amazing. He literally is the best person, that my best friend, truly. And I have other best friends, okay? Like, I have my girls, but like
It's
I
different.
absolutely love life with him, and he couldn't be I couldn't have dreamt up a better person to marry, to be honest. And he's not perfect, no one is, but like I'm the pros far outweigh the cons. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What are you guys looking forward to?
I mean, I'm looking forward to starting a family. I think he isn't quite as looking forward to it yet. But we're planning 2 international trips right now. So we're kind of like sneaking those in before we start trying.
Oh, I love it. Oh, so you guys wanna have children.
I want
Oh,
one. He wants
yeah.
9.
He wants 9. Okay,
Yeah.
let me just say, coming from a mama, okay, so I'm just gonna let you know
I'm
right
ready.
now.
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. So I have 4 and 1 bonus son, and I'm at that age now, which is fine. I feel like I'm very young. I'm only 52, but
Wow.
I'm at that age. I know, right? So
You
I'm
look
at the age,
amazing.
and my kids are all over. I have my oldest is like 33, then I have 25, and then I have
All the
the
decades.
all the decades. And then 25, and then my bonus son, I think he's turning 25, and then my twins, my babies, they're turning 18 next month. And
Stop.
I know,
That's
stop, girlfriend. They're
wild.
graduating from high school. I'm dying. I'm like, well, how am I going to be like an empty nester? Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay, but that's a whole other story. And really, genuinely, I look back and I would have had more because it goes so fast. It truly is just a short time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when you're in it, you're like, oh, this kind of, sometimes you're like, whoa, let's take a lot of this.
Yeah.
But the majority of the time, to me, it's just been the best joy I've ever experienced in my
Oh,
life.
I love hearing
And
that.
I mean that with all of it, all of the highs and the lows and everything. And that's how I look at it. I think it was a time and a place for everything, and it just went so fast. And then, of course, you're talking to a mother right now that she's going to be an empty nester.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
and I'm like, I
You're
want
at
to
the
know,
you're all the other way. Yeah, you're all the other side. I'm like not even started. Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm like, let's just start with 1 and see how it goes. But I could
yeah.
totally see what you mean. I mean, I think you could talk me into 2.
Yeah. And you know what I love too? It was interesting because I had 2, and then I really wanted another one, and then I was like, "Oh, not I'm not this is a real story." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want just 3, I want pairs." I don't know what I was thinking. I'm like, and then because the other ones are a little older, and then the 3rd
Right.
one was gonna be kinda like a loner, like,
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
like, "Well, what about me? What about me?" So I was like, "Oh, I don't know if that would be fair," because all my kids are so grateful. They're like, "Oh, I'm so happy we have each other," right?
Yeah.
And they all say that
Oh,
I wouldn't wanna be an
cute.
only child. I know everyone has a different thing, but they're like, "I wouldn't wanna be an only child. That'd be so boring." So then and then you guys would give me too much attention. No, no, no. But then I had twins, and that came out of nowhere.
That's
I was like,
wild. All right.
"Hallelujah."
Yeah,
I was
that's
like, "Well,
actually it's like kinda what you wanted. Yeah.
I did, and not only that, I had already 2 boys, and then I ended up having, a boy and a girl.
Ama amazing. That's so cool. I
It's
love it.
so
Thank you for
cool.
sharing that. And I wanna say one thing about my husband,
Yes,
is that his profile, by the way, was not like a standout
it
necessarily.
wasn't?
No,
Okay.
it was very dry, and he's a very funny person, but he didn't have a shred of humor on his profile. He had, like, 6 pictures with different hair lengths. I'm like, "I don't know what hair I'm gonna get on this date," whatever. And he had that he liked books and music and movies and stuff, like, very generic. And I
Very
reached
generic.
out to him and I said, what audiobooks are you listening to?" And that's it. That's all it takes. It's not like
That's
some
it.
witty, like, clever opener. It's just, "What are you
Pickup
reading?"
line.
Yeah.
What would you say? Because I mean, really, honestly, I know we're gonna wrap this up, and you
Yeah.
already dropped so many nuggets. What would you say, and I know you have so many, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what would you say is one of your best advice for the people that are single out there looking for love?
My best advice is that counterintuitive advice of pour more energy into yourself, and that energy will pour into your dating life. It will make you more attractive and more magnetic. The more care and attention, like all the attention you want to give to your potential partner, which you will give to yourself, and that will come through. It really will.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. This has been amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
so much.
amazing.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. And you guys, make sure you check her out. Again, one more time, where can they find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at dating.intentionally. I answer DMs, so feel free to reach out.
All right. Awesome. And again, till next time, cheers to great love. Let's talk about the tip of the week, which is your feminine power activates the moment you choose faith over fear. When you stay stuck in your head, analyzing, doubting, and planning every step, you're operating in your masculine energy. But your true magic, your ability to create and receive, lives in your feminine embodiment. That dream in your heart, it's already yours in the spiritual realm. The only thing standing between you and its willingness to believe, to trust, and stop letting anxiety run the show. Faith isn't passive. Faith is action. It's an energy you embody before you see the results. This week, I invite you to drop into your body, open your heart, and remember and say this: I am already aligned with my desires. I don't chase, I attract. That's a wrap. Wow. That was such a liberating conversation that I had with Talia today. I hope that inspired you to feel empowered and realize that dating is truly an opportunity to get to know different people. Dating can actually be so fun, and dating is an opportunity to refine what you're looking for. How empowering it is to take your time and really find a perfect match for you. And don't forget to have a great time during this process. Put yourself out there. Be fearless, because in the end, you truly have nothing to lose and so much to gain. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode, because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.